Friday, later in the afternoon. It was so fun. It's not a kid trip.
I was gonna say, was it a girl trip?
No, it was like Brett and his girl and his wife and his in-laws, adults only. Oh yeah, it had to be. Okay. We were in costume. I had cowboy boots on and dress.
Johnny got cowboy boots for his birthday. He just turned 5. And he wears them around with his like little shorts and it's like cute as the heck.
I'm not sure I looked like that, but I'm going to call the meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Can I have an approval of the agenda, please?
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're on to public participation. Hi, Rita. Seeing none, we will move on to presentations. We have a bond update. We have Colin here and Rich. Hi, Rich.
Good evening. Thanks for having us in here. I'm Colin Frank with Plant Moran Cressa, and then we have Rich here, and Mike with Foresight should be here in a second. He was coming straight from another meeting, said he was going to be here right at 7 o'clock, so he will be last. We will give a quick bond update. I will review the dashboard that will go on to the website at the end of this, and then I did have to take pictures off, so I will add pictures back on, but I didn't want to steal any thunder from Rich and Mike. Rich will go into some details on the Park Lane edition that we've been working on, and Mike will work through the athletics portion that we've been working on. So to what is up on the screens and in front of you. On the left side, we have the bond program and goals and objectives, just making sure we stay centered on what was presented to the community. Right sizing the district, focusing on that Park Lane edition and creating the one community with the one elementary school leading to that unified K-5 culture, which Rich will go into some more detail on. And then modernizing the learning spaces with innovation spaces, STEM spaces, and other personalized learning environments that align with future-focused learning. Update security features to provide safety for students, staff, and community. And then update technology, auditoriums, athletic fields, and playgrounds that promote community and district health and wellness. So on the right side, we have a cost summary. Just for review, column A is the current budget. Column B is all of the current POs that have been issued in contracts. C is the actuals paid, so what the district has paid out so far. D is the math between the two from B and C. E is forecasted contracts for the remainder of the bond. And then F is the unallocated reserve, also called the owner's contingency. And then the G is the forecasted over-under. Currently, we're still forecasting right at our budget. That will be updated as we bid out projects. We haven't bid any construction projects out so far. And then below that, you can see the cash flow finances. We have sold Series 1. You can see all the details in there. I won't bore everyone with that. And then you can see the projections for Series 2 and Series 3. Any questions on the front page of this?
No, I think it's laid out really clean though.
Thank you. And then I will give a high-level overview of what we've been doing the last 3 months, some critical project items that we're focusing on, and then some current project status. So with the 3-month schedule, in July, we did a traffic study at Park Lane and Meridian to inform the design of the drop-off and pickup road at Park Lane. And then the schematic drawings were completed and reviewed with committee members for their input. At the high school football stadium, we were also able to complete the schematic design drawings. We worked with community members and coaches for their input. We were also able to finalize the center logo and end zone designs. which Mike will go into a little bit further in a minute. And then the Campus Connector Road, the initial concept was shared with the engineers, which was PEA, and they're preparing for the design. They're waiting for some information. So in August right now and through the rest of the month, we've estimated the drawings. We're working through that budget and updating it, and then we're working through moving into the design phase, or the DD phase, which is updating floor plans, the interior design elements, working with teachers and other community members to gain their input into those features. Then with the high school football stadium, we've finalized the design, and then we're working through the press box features and some of the stormwater components underneath the field. And then we're also, with the press box, we're all continuing to talk with the coaches and the community members to gain their input on what really makes that function well. With the Campus Connector Road, we are working through the soil borings. Those should be completed by the end of the month, and those will go to PEA to inform their design. And then looking ahead into September, we're going to continue meetings on the Park Lane addition and renovations with the community members and committee members to get their more input on the interior spaces and STEM spaces. High school football stadium will continue to refine the drawing details, meet with community members and coaches as needed for their input. And then the Campus Connector Road, we're going to hope to engage PEA fully once we have those soil borings back and continue on with the design. Some of the critical project items we're focusing on right now is maintaining the design schedule to allow for the late 2023 bid packages for the Phase 1 athletics and the building improvements. And then we're continuing, as always, over the last couple of years to monitor the construction cost escalations and supply chain issues. Unfortunately, they still have not gone away. And then a quick project status update for the high school stadium renovations. They're in the design development phase. The high school and middle school connector road are in the schematic design phase, and the Park Lane addition and renovations are now in the design development phase as well. And then a little bit more information just on the football stadium construction, schedule-wise. We are hoping to start that the day after graduation and finish before the first home game. We're working with Jim to see when that first home game is going to be, when it's scheduled. And then finalizing the design for Park Lane. We're planning to bid in the winter, and the final design will be reviewed and approved by the board before we send it out to bid. Any questions on this back page?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. So we're still working on the design of the Campus Connector Road. When will we see initial designs on that?
Initial designs. So if we talk with them in September, I'm hoping by October we'll see some initial designs, initial layouts, and where it's going to be.
Okay. And then my other question was just on we've talked about the interior spaces at Park Lane. When will we start to look at the exterior?
So we have looked at the exterior spaces, the sidewalk and traffic loops. When I talked about the traffic study, that is really informing that. We need to make sure we have enough space for all of the parents for drop off and pickup, make sure there aren't major traffic issues. So that will be finalized based on that information. We've reviewed it internally with the collaborative and PMC. We're working with the district to set another meeting in the next week or so to go through that, and maybe we'll have more of a finalized design for the exterior. And then looking at playgrounds as well. On the SD drawings, we did have sizes shown on there and estimated square feet for soft spaces and hard playground areas. And then we'll be working with the district to define playground equipment in the future and buy that off of consortium.
Okay. And then this is just because I'm not a engineer or architect. Maybe it would be helpful to understand, does SD come before DD?
So Rich is going to go through.
Okay.
Rich's
Yep.
vendor.
Sorry.
I asked them to make sure, as part of the collaborative's presentation, that they talked about the timeline of SD, DD, and phases, so the.
Read my mind.
Any other questions? All right, I'll turn it over to Rich.
Give me 1 minute, grab the easel out. Hopefully, that's some good stuff to show. It's all good. You've seen everything.
Mike dreams about them.
These designs he does dream about. I don't know.
Thing on the side.
Yes, ma'am. I think we're good. Yeah. Let me make sure. There we go. Now it's going. All right. All right. First off, thank you all for having us out here tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and give you an update as we work into this next phase of design. We're pretty excited of how the project's progressing and excited to share with you some elements about that as we work through. So as a quick reminder, you've seen this slide previously. This is our project team. I'm the only one in color up there because I'm the only one here tonight. So my name is Rich Brynick. I'm an architect and a project manager with the Collaborative. We've got a varying team of designers, technical professionals, landscape architecture, as well as various engineers on the project. So as a reminder, you'll see this just so you know who to expect to see on site and who's working through the project with you actively. Now, this is the schedule that Val was talking about, and you know, Katie, it was a great question. I'm sorry, I'm not a walker and a talker. What you'll see are the various phases of design, and this is pretty standard in any construction project. So the very cleverly placed "we are here" line is to really mark where we're at in the process. So we've gone through the programming phase where we met with various stakeholders on the project to develop a program of requirements based on the spaces required, adjacencies required, as well as sizes. We could start to come up with some conceptual planning for the project. That conceptual planning then evolved into the schematic design phase, where we started to hone it together into an actual floor plan, a site plan, various engineered drawings based on strategies developed by our various consultants on the project, to get to the point where that line is, where we're now reviewing overall costs with that. So partnering with our construction management team, DeMaria, we've given them the drawings, looking through estimating, as well as starting to look through phasing as we work into construction and next steps moving forward. As we do that, it's going to really help to evolve and hone in on the design, which leads us into the design development phase, the DD phase, where we take all that information and now we're distilling down of this is what the requirements are for the project, and this is where the dollars associated with that sit. So we can make sure to hone in a project that's going to meet all your expectations for the design, as well as meet your expectations fiscally for the amount allotted for this project. So towards the end of DD, that's when we start to really finalize the overall look and feel of the building prior to getting into the construction documentation, the CD phase, where we will then further develop the drawings. And that construction documentation is really to hone in on the various details throughout the building that allow our contracting team to take that, bid it out, and get you accurate pricing for this building. Moving forward into CA, which is the construction administration period, where we're actually building it to get you to the end phase where you can occupy and enjoy your space. So it's a long-winded and a lot of circles way of saying that we're working through, but we're really in kind of working towards step 3 of 5 in that full series of items. So definitely let me know if there's any questions. So that's kind of just a real infographic way of showing you where we're at in this process.
Rich, can you take questions on that one? Just
Yes, ma'am.
before we move forward? Is there
Absolutely.
Questions on the phasing? Okay.
Good. It's a real low-tech way to show it. There's a lot more that goes into all that, but it's a good way to show kind of where we are in the process.
Projects going through those at different times, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah, we have a lot of varying projects on these, and so this is an exciting time, though. I like these first phases are really fun before you get into too many of the weeds of it. So planning strategies, as we've been working through with the various stakeholders going through the programming phase, you'll see the slide on the screen is the same as the board we have up front. And what we've done is we've taken the program, looked at the adjacencies, but we also have the great opportunity to take various administrators as well as instructors out to schools within the Toledo area. So these were varying districts that we've recently, as a firm, finished projects working on to show varying levels of design for the buildings, different strategies of how it's curriculum-based teaching, as well as how the spaces assist the curriculum for each of the students in the various grade levels. The main identifier that everybody bought in on and really wanted to hone Park Lane in on was looking at this neighborhood concept. Now, that neighborhood concept is looking at each individual grade having its own node within the building. So what you're going to see here, I'm sorry, I keep going in and out depending on how far away I am. What you're going to see here is we're focused in on, this is a new part of the new edition with one grade level to really show you how each classroom is being based on the projected enrollment leading out over the next 10 years. So we've looked at that enrollment to analyze what you have today versus what you're going to have in the future to come up with how large classrooms could be, as well as how many classrooms are needed throughout the project. Now, each of those is all based around this ELZ, this Extended Learning Zone area. The Extended Learning Zone is really a pull-out spot for the teaching and for that neighborhood, to where not only are you using your classroom, but now you're using various elements in the corridor in the building. So instead of it being a dead space for circulation, now you can start to engage that corridor. You can start to engage the use of the space that's more private for that grade level. The exciting part with that is it encourages additional teaching methods of bringing these classes together. So it's not just, Mike teaching his students. Well, now all of a sudden, Mike is working with, I was going to use Linda, but she's not here, with Val to teach, together and co-teach the students, where each of them brings in a new aspect and a new teaching style for the students to grow as a whole. So we focus these nodes around these extended learning zones, and each grade level would have one of those. So whether that be in the addition or that be in the renovation space, we're looking to make it to where each grade throughout Park Lane can all get the same experience and can all enjoy the same learning goals and strategies moving forward. Additionally, what you'll see on here are some arrows pointing in of some of the district goals. Bring in natural light that encourages so much learning possibilities for the students by bringing in natural light from the exterior, as well as if we can pull it into the center of the building through various architectural interventions. Additionally, down at the bottom right, that Mike is a little blocking off, you'll see security separation. So part of all this effort, and when we had gone out and visited these various districts, are the thought of security. It is an unfortunate need within K-12 districts, but trying to think about how the building could protect the students and how the building could actively do that. So by taking the different grade levels and pairing them together and then separating them off from one another, you start to create layers of separation throughout the building. So if there's ever an event, an emergency event, the students are protected from other areas within the building, and the students all have access to get out of the building. So that way, if one area gets compromised, the rest of the building is not. And it's taking those various layers throughout to help encourage safety for all the students throughout the building. So this is one area of many throughout. I guess before I get on, are there any questions here based on the plan you see?
I just wanted to mention, Rich, that those extended learning zones are actually big enough to house all the students from the whole neighborhood. So they are that large. So we visited a school where they actually had the kids come out and they did like a grade level play. And so it is a nice, it's a large enough area that that entire neighborhood can come into that zone.
And you'll see some examples here. So this is a classroom example, which really shows the encouragement of natural light within the space, as well as incorporating in cubbies for storage and tackable surfaces, marker boards, so that way it becomes more of an active learning type environment, with learning being able to take place throughout each classroom. And probably more importantly that you're going to be interested to see is this photo, which is a photo of Washington Local School District. This was the Shoreland Elementary School, where that's their extended learning zone. So you can start to see how each of the windows based around, so the glass that you see around the perimeter, those are all varying classrooms that lead into that centralized extended learning zone, where the different teaching methods can take place through various forms of seating and furniture to learning boards throughout. So it really becomes kind of a constantly changing environment based on what the students' needs are.
Rich, how does the natural light, how do you then maintain safety too? That's another, it's more visibility to the outside. So how does that work for that?
Yeah, no, yes, ma'am, that's a great question. And it is a great question because interior-wise, you have the different layers of trying to separate out those grade levels. through the door. So where that line was shown, there's going to be a button in the main office that can shut down the doors throughout the school. So interior wise, interior to interior, you can protect through that separation method. Now exterior wise, we've actively, and we have it included within the schematic design set, of looking at what can we do with the glass. Bullet resistant glass is financially very tough. There's a lot of money involved with it. However, laminated glass is not. Now, the difference with laminated glass versus your code minimum tempered is the tempered explodes when it hits, just like your car side and your side door. The laminated is like your windshield, where it takes a hammer and about an hour to get through it. So it's not bullet resistant, but it allows that if someone were to try to get into the school, they wouldn't be able to from the outside. So we're trying to look at from the exterior, protecting the students, as well as the interior, separate them out from any dangerous zones.
Rich, what's that? We talked about it today, and I don't remember the name or what you call it architecturally, but a lot of the interior light that you guys have in the design is actually coming from raising the roof line and putting in, what are they called?
Yeah, clear story. So we're looking at also, and you'll see it a little bit. Give me a minute to fumble
The
around.
daylight's not necessarily coming from the glass on the side. Some of it's coming through the roof line.
Yeah, so let's talk about the exterior a little bit. And this is really a reimagination of
I
the
have
exterior.
still a question on the interior. Can we do that really quick?
Yeah, we can do it now, we can go back, whatever you like.
So on the interior, how there are glass facing that open collaborative space, what about our children with ADHD or attention issues? Are we concerned at all about that, or what have other school districts found?
Yeah.
I can speak to that. We talked to the other districts. It's all about placement of seating, and there's line of sight, that options that they work with those kids. Really what they found is that the kids get used to it. So and you have to remember it's a neighborhood, so you don't have all 400 kids passing through. There's not as much going on a constant basis. But it was really interesting. We were all brand new people that the kids, like we would have been, pretty like be distracted, but they didn't even stop. They didn't even stop teaching. They didn't stop learning. The kids just continued to focus on, the engagement of the teacher and what's happening in the classroom. It was because I thought there would be a lot of and it was pretty fascinating to see that. You saw it too. It was like you wouldn't have thought it. But they talked about the principal. Actually, she was so funny. She was like, "I'm the worst offender." She's like, "I'll wave and when she walks by." But she said the first 4 weeks, there's a lot of adjusting. It takes definitely takes some time, but over time it just became a part of their environment and a part of their world. But with the kids with ADHD and specific, disability where distraction is, they had several different strategies that they used with those students that put them in a place for success when it had to do with that. And some of them even had part of the glass frosted in certain areas, and it just depends on the classroom and the way it angles, as well. Do you want to add anything, Audrey, that you remember?
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
The distractibility did not last long at all. And for students with specific needs, they made accommodations just like we would.
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to mention that we really loved was that every neighborhood was unique. So every neighborhood had different furniture choices, every neighborhood had different color choices, had different organization of the materials. And so they really just became a real neighborhood, and it was really neat, almost like the kids were excited to move to the next grade level because they got to go to the next neighborhood. And so it just created so much community within the community of the school, which was really, really cool to see. And you can see it there. We have that little conference room in the back. We're working on, budget right now. We're trying to narrow things down. This may or may not make it into the design. We're still hoping and praying and asking for miracles on behalf of Rich, that we'll be able to keep those little conference rooms in a couple, I think we have it in the 4th and the 5th grade specifically. Those are great, spaces for even sensory and things like that kids can go to.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is what you're leading to. Are you talking about this architectural intervention for the natural light? Is that what you're leading into?
Yeah. Yeah, getting to the clear story element. You got it.
Right.
So we can come back to the interior. I don't want to take all your guys' time, but happy to take as much as you like. I'm a talker. So getting to the, sorry. All right, getting to the outside here, we'll talk about some of the interventions, but let's start with the clear stories. And I'm going to show you the smallest little element just to the right of the tree that you'll see. And you can kind of see this little pie-shaped wedge coming up out of the roof. Now, we've looked at various elements around the building, and as we hone in on this finalized, pricing and what we can do, we're going to get, a lot more imagery for you to be able to share and really allow you to base the design off of what's being shown. But those are the clear stories we're talking about, and what they are and how they're depicted here are wedges coming off of the roof line to allow natural light to come in. They're strategically placed so they sit right over top of all the extended learning zone elements. So for all the classrooms, you have outside light coming in from the exterior wall, but then the centralized extended learning zones allow the light to come in from above. They're also strategically placed so that way they're all north facing. We don't want you to get blasted with southern sun or morning or afternoon sun, but northern facing is going to give you a really nice natural light throughout the day that's a diffuse light and is not going to blast in, hurting your thermal performance as well as glare for the students. And considering that there's going to be glass on the interior walls, we don't want that glare coming in and bothering the students either. So there's a lot of meaning behind where they're placed and why, but the end goal is really to allow that natural light to come through into the central space that wouldn't get it from the outside walls. So staying on the exterior, you'll see this shot, and you guys will recognize it as being really on the east face of the building, looking from Park Lane across from the bus drop-off lane. The main office is just to the right. So the biggest intervention that we want to talk about is really getting into the existing building. What you're used to seeing today is a metal hipped, kind of that teal color roof on top of the building. We found that there's various, not just talking aesthetic, but different deficiencies with the roof as far as leaking thermal performance, what's going on in the attic space, and we've also found that replacing the metal is going to be more financially burdensome on the district than reverting back to a flat roof. So the original building was built with a flat roof in mind, and that roof that you see today was all on top of it. So what we're proposing and looking at as we're going through our cost exercises are to take away the metal hipped roof, bring it back to a flat roof with a TPO membrane on top, and then look at draining, still doing sheet draining out onto the site, just like it does today, but allowing that membrane now to protect your overall horizontal surface of the building. While also in doing that, we need to bring it up to code. So instead of having the insulation that's underneath the roof today that's not thermally performing, we're going to bring you up to current Michigan Building Code 2015 that allows for a greater R value for thermal performance of the building. So in doing that, you're going to get better thermal performance total. You're going to get a longer lifespan out of that membrane with an easier replacement if you need to in the future. And then on top of it all, it's going to be less cost than trying to replace all the metal. So this is a view to show you really what the building looks like, reverting it back to that flat roof status. Where now we can allow some of the other interventions throughout the building and throughout the addition really take precedent over some of the existing elements.
And you're talking about like those big metal teal roofs, not the wavy part.
Yeah, so the wavy one you see there, that's planned to stay. That's actually like a gypcrete deck that's formed in. It's pretty cool, architecturally for its time. So with that, we intentionally kept it short on the overall design as far as the plan and the exterior goes, with the hope of bringing in some more information in the future as we start to hone in on what this final product is going to look like and really build some excitement on it. So I thank you all for sitting here with me. If there's any other questions, or is everybody feeling good? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Here, I'll show these up here. We've got these on the screen as well for you. For those that don't know me, I am Mike Sims. I'm with Foresight Design. We're the architect assisting the district with all the athletic improvements here at the stadium and at the auxiliary field. We started this process, really kind of formally back in, I'll say, maybe early, mid-May. I mean, we did a kind of a kickoff back in March. Back in May, our team met with several board members and several community members, and we went and visited some local facilities, looked at, some of the newer kind of technologies of turf and stadium developments, focusing on synthetic turf areas, bleachers, press boxes. I thought that was really, really helpful for our office. We got a lot of good positive feedback from the team, kind of helped us assist, the district in creating, a multitude of renderings when it relates to the turf graphics of the field. For our office, it's really important that we really try to focus on those turf graphics. They're very, very, pivotal and very focal for a community. We want to make sure that, as a community and as a district, we've thought about all the options. We looked at all the options and are sensitive to colors and that it's complementary for all sports. And I think we've achieved that with where we're at today. Where we're at today, as you kind of see here, we've prepared an overall kind of site rendering of the stadium. We are, kind of as Rich mentioned earlier with the kind of the processes of schematic designs, CD design development. We follow a very similar process to that, but it's not so defined. Our schematic design kind of blends into design development, which kind of blends into CD. So we're not as kind of rigid on some of those dates because of the way our design and kind of the design of a complex like this works. So where we're at today, I'll say from a design standpoint, we're probably 70%, 70 to 80% of our design is complete. I'm very, positive and very, happy with where we are. We've gotten, over the big hump of getting to this point, defining the site, identifying walkway spaces, gate locations, bleacher spaces. This is going to be a tremendous improvement for this facility. And I think you can kind of see, a picture says one thing. We are in the process of developing some three-dimensional images that we're hoping to share at future board meetings that kind of help illustrate, what the site will look like for you guys. But we're right on target where we would need to be. We've had a few hiccups, with some of the soil borings and topographic survey information. We've had to go out and get some additional information. And it's not uncommon. An older site, we've got to just find, and make sure we've got all the things checked underground that we need. So, again, I've kind of shared an overall site plan here of where we are to date. I've also included, I've also included kind of an enlargement of the field itself. So the field graphics that you see here, I know they're a little tough to see in the screen, but I encourage anybody that wants to kind of look at an enlarged image. So we went, round and round in a very, very positive manner with a lot of, interested people to make sure this is right. I think we've achieved it. I think it's a really sharp looking field. It just graphically, I think we've tied in a lot of good elements here. We are utilizing the district's font in the end zones and the end zone and the field numbering. So it kind of ties so much of what you guys have already started here in with this complex. We're looking to carry all of that over to the auxiliary field, and when we get into baseball, softball developments, we'll continue that as well. Any questions? I know we kind of highlighted a very...
What is that area to the left with the three?
To the left-hand side of your screen there? Yep. So that's referred to as a kind of a practice area. We call it kind of a practice lineman's area. So what that is, just to simulate like a 15-yard space. Traditionally for a football area, a lot of like linemen and high intensity, again, high intensity but very small space drills kind of occur in those areas. So you can kind of do those with those larger green areas in turf that you see there on the left-hand side of your image, while you can still use the body of the field for other, passing drills, running drills. It's really just kind of utilizing the space that we have that's available. Any other questions? Okay. Good.
I know we added some at the last. Oh, sorry. I know we added some at the last minute too. So I think I think you did a great job.
Yeah, it is, you know, we're just our process right now, we've got just a few little things to kind of work out with the district, more technology, IT related, as Colin mentioned. The press box is kind of the last little bit that we've got to kind of square up, but, you know, really at this point, it's on our team, the engineering team, the electrical team, to kind of tie in all the nuts and bolts. You know, it's a lot of the infrastructure stuff that you don't see, that's all underground, is where we're at from a design standpoint. So over the next couple of weeks here, we're going to look to, you know, allow the school, everybody get back into school and school mode. Probably towards the end of September, look to kind of have some more, not say intense meetings, but kind of page turn meetings, making sure we've got all the details squared away. And then start targeting some bidding dates here in October is what we're targeting. So we're right on target where we should be and where we want to be.
Mike, going back to your last slide, and maybe this is more focused on just the turf part of it, but is anything happening with that, like field house and the workout area and concession area? Is that all staying the same?
Yeah, that's all. That wasn't part of any of the scope of the bond.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're still, like, we just even made some changes yesterday in our walkthrough that aren't on. So I would pay more attention to the actual field itself. We've got work to do still on the rest of the kind of the stadium area. So that has not been finalized, but we're definitely there with the field and, you know, asking Mike to move forward. I just have an internal question, Mike. I'm just going to take the opportunity with the fact that you're standing here to ask it. What is the time? I know we've got some financial money, a lot of it savings we're hoping for riding on whether or not the storm drainage and being able to tap into the bus garage. I know you're looking into that. What's the timeline on an answer there? Because there's some dollars associated with that.
I don't know yet, Val. I mean, we just got an updated survey from Chemtech here about a week ago. We're kind of going through it right now. There's some critical structures, drainage structures that they're going to be impacted of what we're doing. And we've got to address it. I mean, basically, we've got to capture that water and take care of that. Some of these drainage structures are full of debris right now. And I mean, we're trying to determine, can we, you know, selectively get somebody out, suck them out, make a quick evaluation, or do we need to send somebody out to camera the line? Do we have a break somewhere where it's causing? There's some unknowns right now that we didn't know because we didn't have on the original survey. We got the information now, or now we're kind of finding more info. So I think it's going to be kind of minimal of what I'm kind of talking about right now in terms of some additional work we may have to do.
I know we're carrying a large dollar amount on the budget and we're starting to refine scope and, you know, I don't want to lose something over here. And then, so I just was wondering what the timeline, you know, of being able to.
I would say within the next 2 weeks, we'll have a pretty good
Okay.
idea of where we're going to go. Now, where we have to, when we complete this design process and this project goes to bid, we also have to go to Wayne County. I personally haven't talked to the board about that, but I know we've talked about that. You know, it's a regulatory approval that we have to gain. That could be a very long process. So we're kind of working backwards a little bit to try and, I want to get this into Wayne County's hands prior to November. You know, that's my internal target. That gives us the best success to make sure we've got all the checks and balances come spring. We're not waiting on permits or anything like that. So that's where we're kind of targeting, you know, the day we go to bid is the day we formally submit to the county. They will not pre-review things at this point to say, yes, you're okay to tap into this, or no, you're not. It's kind of an engineering judgment call, and I've expressed that position, you know, our position that this is what we want to do to Spalding. I know they're looking into that. We might be able to gain some of that pond and utilize some of that pond. We just don't know yet. We're not there yet, so, yep.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask it about the design concept, but how versatile is a field like that for lacrosse, or if soccer, if there's big championship soccer, they don't want to use a soccer field and things like that.
So we've got the field. It's a little tough to see in this image. Maybe I can go to the next image, but okay. I'll do my best to kind of illustrate this, but and I'm going to hold this image here. But right now, the large white border that you see around the field, that is primarily the football markings and the numbers that you see. Okay. The yellow markings that you see around the outside of the field, that is intended for the soccer field. So we have soccer field markings on here. kind of in between the football white line and the yellow line is a black line that goes kind of around the field and through the end zones.
The way I see it now.
That's for men's lacrosse, so we were including men's lacrosse lines. And then we've also included what they refer to as tick marks. So you can kind of see a little bit along the end zones here. There's some very, very small dots. They're a little tough to see.
I see it.
Essentially, it's a kind of a connect the dots mentality. So you basically box the field as with tick marks, and then if the district would, is going to be, participating in that sport, you paint the lines when you need to. We've vetted that, all of, what do we include the lines, what do we include as tick marks, colors. We spent a lot of time vetting that, and I think we've captured everything we want to see here that Mr. Oakler and the athletics department want to see out of it. We're looking to do something a little bit different, something a little similar, but a little bit different at the auxiliary field when we get to that point. It's going to be more universal for all sports.
In band, you'll put lines
Yes.
in there or something like that, yeah.
Yep.
Practice field for that. Yeah.
Generally, the band uses the football lines, and so we did talk through the band with the band director and kind of what do they need out of this. So, again, I do applaud the district. I remember when we first started this process, and I remember Val, you asked me, who do I include for these meetings? And I think we said, we want to include as many people as we want. We want the feedback. We want to hear everything because not everybody's going to have this opportunity to be part of this and, design a field or a complex. And so I applaud you guys all. I mean, we've had really good feedback from everybody. It hasn't been painstaking on my end, and I'm really happy with where we are today. So, any other questions? Generally, so the industry standard for a turf field is 8 years. So that is the industry standard. We have seen most fields last 10 to 12 years with normal maintenance, normal care. We've seen other fields, Carlson High School is a local example. That was 15 years. That was just replaced here a few years ago. I would say with good care, you're going to get probably closer to 12 years, out of your field at least. The technologies have really improved, and we're seeing fields last that much longer. Correct. Yep. So that's kind of a punch list item. Once a field is completed and we do a walkthrough, generally when our office is completing a punch list of the field, the turf company is working with your staff and going through the maintenance training. It's about an hour. It takes me an hour. It takes you guys an hour to go through the do's and don'ts, how to maintain, how, utilize the equipment to maintain the field. It's a really good, kind of process to do. So
There's a machine that brings it. We actually, in the planning phases, we tour other local schools to look at their fields as well. So we get to see the machine at Trenton High School. They do actually prove the field.
yeah.
Is that a machine we'd be able to share with another district like Trenton, or is it you groom?
So it's kind of a pull behind unit, kind of like a trailer. I say a trailer attachment, and you would use like a John Deere Gator or some multi-use maintenance vehicle. It's something that we include as part of the specifications. So it's kind of a cost that we've already paid for the equipment itself. We don't have a Gator or anything like that within the bond or within the project, but.
In 12 years, when we talk about a replacement, is the same degree and same cost index for inflation, or is the infrastructure like the drainage and everything like that can be used again?
It's going to be used again. You're going to typically see the cost for replacement is going to be about half the cost of initial construction, more or less. If we say that the cost to construct a turf field inside of a track is $1 million, that includes site work and turf, that's kind of a turnkey number. 10 years, 12 years from now, you go to replace the field, I would expect, $500,000 plus inflation for that turf replacement cost. And that's stayed pretty standard even through COVID, the peaks and valleys of COVID. Even here as of recently, it's about half of that initial cost. So I would, a size of a field like this, because most turf fields don't have we call the D zone, those two kind of green areas in the curves of the track. A lot of fields don't have those, so you have a little more square footage than most high school fields do. But if I were to, propose a cost to replace this field today and 12 years from now, I would probably budget $400 to $450 you know, in today's dollars, okay? So that kind of gives you some ballpark, and you average that all over, you know, the expected life of the turf, and that kind of give you what you should look at, you know, earmarking for replacement costs of that in the future.
Going back to the drainage, I have
Yes.
a question. I mean, I don't know how much wiggle room you have with Wayne County, or is it pretty much dictated? I know we've got a drainage over here from the parking lot in the middle school. It's probably never had water in it since it's ever been formed.
That's part of
money.
the, yeah,
The
that's,
money we spent, and it's never done anything.
I know.
Yeah.
The way that Wayne County, and this could be a whole nother board meeting, but we do have to, we are trying to utilize everything we can to not prolong or drag out this Wayne County process. So we've already got a volume in this pond that we can
I get it.
provide into it, and it's how do we might only be able to put a third of the field into that pond, and how do we design something to maximize or economize that? That's what we're just trying to figure out.
And then just like rough timing for installation and when we're like in a usable place for this field. First game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we have to kind of vet through with that, with Jim, and understanding what the spring sports schedule looks like. There's a lot of work that's got to take place on this site, and we'll have to you know, figure that out. We haven't.
And then will we be displacing teams during, you know, before first game practices? Is there other fields they'll just use?
The auxiliary field for practices, so Jim's still building the schedule. What's, you know, it would be great if we didn't have graduation on our football field, but that's where the tight squeeze is gonna be, and it causes me the great amount of, you know, anxiety comes from the fact that we have such a late graduation, and then, so, you know, hopefully we're gonna have some away games to start the season next.
Looks great.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you. Nicely done.
Get everyone's raffle tickets from?
I did sell one. I didn't get Mike because he showed up late.
I'll leave these for you if you want.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'll use that for open house.
Would you like our boards? You wanna?
Sure would. Take all your boards.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have information and discussion, and it is an additional teaching position.
Yeah, we currently, well, last year, we had 5 sections of second grade, and I believe those class sizes were about 21, 22. We did reduce it to 4 sections, because we typically have a little bit higher class sizes in 3rd grade when we move over to Meridian. So we were banking on 26, 27, and then we tipped over to 28. We've had some enrollments over the summer, and we just hit one section of 30. So we don't want to carry 30. We're not recommending to have a class size of 30 in 3rd grade, where reading is, you know, extremely important. So we're actually recommending, this is a tough call because our budget, we do know that we're still in a structural deficit. However, this is not where I would recommend that we would, you know, cut costs. So I'm recommending that we go ahead and go back to 5 sections, which is what we had when, just last year, because of the enrollments that came over in the summer. And so just recommending, it is going to be an additional teacher hire. We are hiring right now for another teacher because of an opening we had. So the good news is we already have it posted. So this is just a matter of when we're interviewing whether or not we're hiring 1 or 2. So we have been moving forward on the, you know, knowing that this was a possibility and planning for it just in case. But obviously I'll need official board approval tonight to be able to move forward with the second hire. I don't want kids to show up to open house thinking they have one teacher and then we end up giving them a different one. So I am asking for both information and discussion tonight as well as approval.
Any other questions for Val at this point?
Are any other grade levels approaching that need for a 5th section in elementary?
We just, our fifth grade, I believe, is at 28, but we're now a week away from school, so we feel comfortable with that. And we've carried 28 in the fifth grade, I think 28, 29. 30 is really the tipping point for us at Meridian that we definitely try to stay away from.
And all the others are below that?
Yes, yeah, 26, 27. Park Lane, we carry under 25. I believe most of those are sitting at 22, 23.
And do you think most of the, move-outs are in now at this point?
I do, yep. We were really waiting on our secretarial staff to return to work. They tend to have drops in their emails and fax machines and things like that. So we have gone through all the mail. We obviously could get a drop or two, but right now, we've done our due diligence, and we don't have any information of any more coming in at this time, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Val? Okay, moving on to consent grouping. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Grosse Ile Township Schools Board of Education approve the consent grouping items as presented. And this is the payment of the bills for July 1st through 31st, 2023, and the amount of $1,433,202.70, and the approval of the July regular meeting and August work session and closed session meeting minutes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action items, can I have a personnel update? Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Grosse Ile Township Schools Board of Education approves the personal update as presented.
Support?
It's the hire of Ashley Jones and the resignation of 4 people.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, he will be missed. But I'm happy for him in the same breath, okay? It's the right move for him. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have bus purchase.
I move that the Grosse Ile Township Schools Board of Education approves the proposal for the purchase of 2 new school buses as presented. We talked about this at our work session. The total cost for this would be $302,384.
Any other comments, questions?
Since I wasn't here, is this coming out of bond or general fund?
Fund.
The only other comment is I remember when I joined the board, which was not that long ago, the bus was $75,000. And then I thought it was a lot.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the high school stadium light bulbs and speaker replacement. Can I have a motion, please?
Placement and speaker installation as presented.
Support?
Want me to read it? That's-
Yeah.
Mike Grama, our Director of Operations, is recommending the board approval for the lamp and the ballast replacement, as well as a speaker installation on the football field stadium for the total cost of $8,990. The work will be performed by Douglas Electric. Quote is attached. We saw the quote.
And this, Mike Grima gave us a presentation at the work session, and pretty in-depth. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we go to emergency flip books. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Grosse Ile Township Schools Board of Education approves the proposal for the purchase of classroom emergency flip books as presented.
Support.
And this was also presented to us at the work session. The total cost of $6,207.07, and they will be provided by Guest Communication Corporation.
Questions, comments?
Saw our last meeting, it was good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, I have the GIE SPA agreement for 2023 through 2025. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Grosse Ile Township Schools Board of Education approve the Grosse Ile Education Support Personal Association 2023-2025 Collective Bargaining Agreement as presented.
Support.
Any questions, comments?
No, we appreciate getting this done.
Yeah,
And this is a 2-year agreement.
It's great.
it's nice.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, we have the additional teaching position that Superintendent Orr just spoke about. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Grosse Ile Township Schools Board of Education approve the addition of a full-time elementary teaching position as presented.
Support.
This is what we just talked about.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, moving on to the superintendent update.
Yeah, we obviously have all of our bond work that was presented tonight. So we have spent a lot of time this summer moving forward with that. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the individuals that have helped us. There were quite a few teachers that have come in over the summer, community members, parents. So we have gotten a lot of input. Summer isn't always the time people want to spend coming in, so we appreciate that. But I think as we can see, it's been it's been rewarding and we're getting good work done. We are obviously excited to welcome back our students and parents. I just have some dates and times I just want to mention. We have all this up on our website, is both on the district page as well as the individual schools page. I'm excited that Dr. Carter, our new high school principal, is hosting a meet and greet along with Assistant Principal Brett Bennett at the high school. That is Wednesday, August 23rd from 4:30 to 5:30. It's on the outside patio. I really strongly encourage our parents and our kids to go meet Dr. Carter. I think that they will absolutely love him. He's already making his way around. He's gone to soccer games. He's out and about already, and it's just a real pleasure to have him join our team. And I encourage folks to go meet him, as well as the board if you have that opportunity. Thursday at the high school, August 31st, so the following week, we have Red Devil registration from 8 to 12. The middle school open house is actually after school starts. That is on Thursday, September 7th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. You will see me there as I am traveling through my son's 7th grade classes. Middle school also has 6th grade new student orientation on Thursday, August 31st from 11 to 1 p.m. Then at Meridian, they have their open house scheduled for Wednesday, August 30th from 5 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. And then Park Lane, actually the day before on August 29th from 5 to 8. And lastly, we have our bus drivers doing their annual Meet Your Bus Driver event. We just so appreciate them for doing that. I love it. I'm not aware of other schools that do that, so I'm so excited that they're doing that again. But you can meet your bus driver on August 30th from 4:30 to 6:30. And we're just excited to have our kids and our staff coming back. The staff return on Monday.
Perfect. Lots happening, yeah.
It's a busy, busy time. Well, thank you. Okay, any other questions for Superintendent Orr? Okay. Well, next, we have a closed session. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we move into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268, Section 8C.